Mitch Kaplan, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, Alisha, this being with you, even seeing your face in a computer brings me such joy.
I mean, the feeling is completely mutual. I feel like my re-engagement into the book world, one of the best things about it has been having so many opportunities to see you again after only getting to see you for many years, like once a year when I would see my parents and pop into Books and Books to say hi.
Well, the good thing about living a long time is that you have amazing memories. And so the memories that I have of you in various stages of your life um, are so wonderful to go and revisit. And then to see you in person re-engages me as well. I remember the call that you gave me when you were starting this project and you were starting the whole idea of a book and going down that road, and to see you, I'm not surprised because I've known you since you were a kid, but to watch you uh have such success in what you're doing just brings me such fulfillment, and so I'm so proud of you.
Oh, this is so nice. And now we have it recorded for posterity forever. I think I'm constantly giving you credit for the great advice you gave me on that call, which was to write, to start getting my name out there, start getting short pieces out there. And you and I have known each other a long time. My tenacity began back in, God, I want to say, okay, let's think, 1996, when
Yeah.
you came to my middle school for career day. I was in 8th grade. I had just gotten a work permit from the guidance counselor because I turned 14, and I was taking you around. I was assigned to you for the day, and it's in the Q&A section. I raised my hand and asked if you would give me a job at Books and Books, and you said yes, and you actually did it. And you didn't just say it. And so I had the immense pleasure and great fortune to work at the Coral Gables store throughout high school and come back and visit constantly. And so what my first question for you is, do you remember our meeting the same way? Or was it just very annoying to have this little pipsqueak trying to get a job?
No, I remember. I don't necessarily remember that exactly, but I remember you being in the store, and I remember just, just how amazing you were. I mean, the one thing that I mean, one of the things that I'm proud of is that I have a really good nose for talented kids, because I have been surrounded by young people. I started as a young person, and then most of the people that I hire are young, not as young as 14, but I have a very blink sense of identifying uh, people who I think have an inner passion about things. And that's the overarching thing that I remember about you, that you had this inner drive, this inner passion, and you were always so damn articulate, even as a 14-year-old.
Well, thank
So I knew that, and you were a reader. You were an amazing reader even then. Uh, and it really wasn't until later on that I really put two and two together and understood all of our other connections
correct.
as well. What people don't know is Alicia's grandfather and my father were law partners, going way, way,
Way
way
back.
back.
So if you would have known that, I guess I would have technically been a Nepo baby or a Nepo
Right,
grandbaby.
right,
But
right.
I got the job of my own merit. So
Completely.
Books and Books celebrated its 40th birthday in
Last year, yeah,
2023, 2022,
we're into our
2023.
41st year.
Unbelievable. So we
Yeah,
are
no,
Books and Books and I are roughly the same age. Books and Books is a little younger than me.
right.
Um, and you know, now I just got back a few weeks ago from the Miami Book Fair, which was an incredible experience, another project that you are behind. And there is so much kind of literary goodness in Miami these days. But what was it like 41 years ago when you were setting up the
Well,
first
that's a
store?
great question, because you weren't there, and a lot of people weren't there, and they don't understand. A lot of people see Miami for what it is today, which is
Mhm.
this kind of vibrant hip city with things happening on South Beach and all of that. I grew up on South Beach when the median age when I was a kid was 70, right? So it was mostly Holocaust survivors and old people on Social Security. And I couldn't wait to leave as fast as I could. So I went, I didn't even know where I was going. I just signed an application and I went to University of Colorado just to get as far away as I could. And for me, it was a godsend. It was
Wow.
perfect. But then when I came back in the late 70s and early 80s, Miami was a wasteland. It was even, you know, in 1980, there's a marvelous book called The Year of Dangerous Days, the year of 1980. And that was a very pivotal year because in 1980, you had the Mariel boat lift happen, which brought over 100,000 uh, exiles, people leaving Cuba and living on the streets of Miami. There was no place to put that many people.
Right.
We can take a break. Guys, stop.
Pups, keep it down.
Yeah. So there was no place to put all of these people. So in 1980, you had the Mariel boat lift. Then you had one of the most really brutal this brutality against a black motorist named Arthur McDuffie. And you had the McDuffie riots after the police were exonerated, in his killing. And it was so clear that they were involved. They were the precursor to the Rodney King, riots. They were actually more brutal. And at the same time, you had the beginning of the cocaine world. All of a sudden, the Federal Reserve in the Miami area said, "Why do we have an extra $4 billion?" That is all of a sudden a bump, and it was all the cash flowing into the banks from all the cocaine trade.
Wow.
So you had those three things all happening in 1 year. And by the time we opened in 1982, Time Magazine did an article that said, "Miami Paradise Lost," with a big question.
Wow.
So we opened in really the most downtime in the history of Miami. And so to have a seat at the table as a bookstore, watching Miami go through its twists and turns to where it is a city today, which is much more vibrant and much more interesting, is a treat for me because I was there. I saw it all happen. I saw it slowly evolve. Remember, we opened before Miami Vice, before there was such a thing as South Beach Art Deco. It was nothing. And it's fascinating, being part of the redevelopment of the city you were born into. And I feel very much that. The literary world was not a world that was very it wasn't well thought of. There were no thoughts of Miami being a literary community. In fact, at the very first Miami Book Fair, I would ask for an author and they go, "Well, we have this new non-prescription drug book and we're happy to send that author down." Or we have a kind of Daniel Steele clone and we're happy to send that book author down. I go, "No, no, no, you don't understand. I have a bookstore. People are reading James Baldwin. They're reading Isaac Singer. They're reading books in Spanish. A very literate community." All right, Zoe, stop it. You never bark. Why are you barking?
I think it's my
when I'm
voice.
on this podcast. Stop.
I have this effect
Zoe,
on animals.
So what's going on? No. No barking. No barking. I have a dog that's about Anya's dog is here. Anya will be back when you're here too.
Oh,
So
good.
Anya's dog is here 9 months, and then our other box is about 11.
Oh my
So
gosh.
the two of them are they've become fast friends. But
Oh, that's good.
the
Oh, I'm glad
11-year-old
that's the way it's gone.
Yeah. All right, Zoe, stop. Lie down. Lie down and stop.
So you either have to say something interesting or stop barking.
Stop barking. So I'll try to pick up where I left off for your editors.
So you were talking about the bookstore and how you kind of had this community coming in and they wanted to read real books.
Yeah.
They were trying to send you Danielle Steele clones for the book.
Right. And when I opened very selfishly. I mean, I had just left law school. And I drifted to Miami, didn't think I would stay, but I needed to earn a living. So I became a high school teacher. I went and got a master's degree, and
I don't
I
think I
became a
knew
high school
that.
teacher. Yeah, and I thought, in fact, I am now presenting, the author Tananarive Due, who's got an
Mhm.
amazing book called Reformatory,
Mm,
which is, she writes in the horror vein. She'd be a great person to have on, by the way. Tananarive, amazing
good.
story. She's the expert in Black horror. And anyway, Tananarive Due's Reformatory, we just presented her at the book fair, and she was a 10th grade student of mine.
That's
So
amazing.
it's really very cool to get old and have histories with different people. So I taught high school, and then I was here, and I said, all right, I'll stay for a little while. And then I met my wife, and I met Rochelle, and I decided to stay. And so I, always wanted to do a bookstore, and I opened up the very first Books and Books right in 1982. So, it's watching this all happen and grow to the point where Miami now is a really bona fide literary community.
Hmm.
And it's authors who write mystery, which was what we were known for, the Charles Willifords, Miami Blues, and Carl Hyacin
Hmm.
and all of that stuff, Les Standiford, Jim Hall. But it also now is, we have poets living here, Campbell McGrath, who won the Kingsley Prize and a MacArthur Genius Award. We have writers of nonfiction. I mean, we have everybody who is recognized. Richard Blanco, the poet, who's now the poet laureate of Miami-Dade County, who
Wow.
read at the second Obama inauguration. So, lots of good things are happening here in Miami. The fact that our store is able to exist is a testament to Miami. The fact that the book fair has had its 40th book fair, and we were the very first one of these community book fairs, really, that had the scope that we had. So, all of this happened in Miami, of all places.
I know.
Um, so I'm very proud of that. And, I like to think that we've made a bit of a difference in town. So what I did, I think you and I talked about it a little bit, but I started this literary foundation, the Books and Books
Yeah. So
Literary
this is
Foundation.
this is big, and I think
Yeah.
new for the book world. So tell us about it.
Well, there's a bunch of stores that are now doing indie bookstores in order to continue doing the work that they're doing, but at the same time do additional stuff that's community oriented. Because
Mm,
most indie bookstores operate as if they're a not for profit,
right.
right? I mean, we all do stuff that doesn't really bring in much, income. We do 400 events a year, and three-quarters of them we don't sell a lot of books,
Hmm.
but we feel like it's important to expose writers to the Miami community. So it's a way of having the community buy into what we're doing, but at the same time allow me and our team to start doing those things that we've always wanted to do. And for me, there are basically three things that the Literary Foundation is going to be focusing on. One is going to be cultivating community, right? And really even doubling down on that. So, and those sorts of things were, I have this idea of doing empathy dinners, of bringing people
Love
together
it.
and having individuals around a dining table talk about their own lives and their own stories. Um, continue with a lot of our events, take our books and authors into various partners that we have, and have readings in various venues around all of Dade County, Miami-Dade County. And the other thing that we'll be doing is nurturing readers any way that we really can. And that would be doing things like I just did something with a group of inner city kids who've probably never been to a bookstore, and they're going to go see a play around the corner from us, and then they're going to come and visit the bookstore and have a tour of the bookstore, and we're
Yes.
going to be able to donate 40 books to what they're doing. And the donating of books to the communities that are a bit of book deserts
Mm,
is an extremely important thing. It's one thing I learned when I was teaching,
hmm.
is that a lot of kids, because I taught all different levels, and a lot of kids come from homes in which books are not present. And I want to be able to make books present in the lives of so many different kinds of people. So to that extent, we are going to be setting up libraries in prisons, at the immigration centers here in Miami, these will all be free libraries that people can take with them. And then the third area that we're going to be focusing on is freedom of expression,
Mhm.
and ensuring that all of us continue to be able to be free of book banning, the chilling effect in the schools that
Yeah.
some of these laws are having. Um,
I mean,
and
for people
basically,
listening, you're wearing a shirt right now. I can see that says Books and Books, selling banned books since 1982. And I know you've been extremely vocal about the danger of book bans
yeah,
and what we need to do to stop them.
no, and we've been doing it for years. We've been doing it for years. The whole, it didn't start, but for us, uh, Satanic Verses was one of the
Mm,
early book bans, or chilling effects that the fatwa had, and we proudly had them in all of our stores. Prior to that, and what's interesting, also the whole idea of carrying photography books that had nudity in them,
mm.
which was seen as pornography, which it really wasn't. Books by like Robert Mapplethorpe, Sally Mann. There was also a very famous book that Madonna put out called Sex,
Oh, yeah.
which was covered in Mylar. And there were all kinds of groups trying to prohibit us from carrying it. But what was different then is that those groups were just kind of fringe groups.
Right.
The difference now is you have government, you have governors, legislatures, you have people who are in the government who are promulgating these book bans. And that is a true violation of First Amendment rights. And we have to, because really, given what's happening in our world right now, book banning is just the tip of the iceberg. And the majority of the iceberg is underwater, but we know what they're trying to do,
Mm.
which is to sink our democracy. So we have to really be very cognizant of making sure that democracy survives, or there'll be no bookstores in the same way that we know them.
Yeah. Did you? So when I worked at the store, I worked at a different location in Coral Gables where the old bookstore used to be. And the store now, for those of you that haven't been there, and there are several Books and Books around. The one in the Gables has a cafe, it has a bar, you have live music, you have great food. And so it is so much more than just a place to buy books. And it kind of speaks to the first point that you were making about the foundation is
Yeah,
creation of
community.
community. I mean,
What?
do you think do you think that's changed, or do you just think Books and Books is upgraded to a site that can now incorporate all of those things that people always
Well,
wanted?
we opened that store. We're now more than half of our years are in that store,
Okay, by the
and
way, I still think of it as the new store because in my head I'm still 21, so go
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's like me. I'm the same way. We have I call it the Billy Pilgrim effect in Slaughterhouse-Five, where Billy Pilgrim kept, time dancing and time traveling. But that store was the kind of ultimate apotheosis of what I've always wanted to do,
Mm,
which is have that place that is like the true third place after work, after home. Where do you go to meet your neighbors? A bookstore, a bar, a beauty parlor, wherever. And a bookstore is one of those places. And so it really does that. And what's so cool is post-pandemic, the last 2 years have been probably the most successful years we've had,
wow.
because people understand what they've lost, or what
Mhm.
they lost during the pandemic. And now people also understand how true independent businesses really are, how true to their voices they are,
Mm,
and how they reflect their community, and they're real. They're not manufactured. They're not, it's not done in a corporate office somewhere trying to figure out the best way of luring people in.
yeah.
I mean, what we do, I like to say that we're part of the passion economy, and that's what
Oh, I
we
love
do.
that.
So, people ask me, oh, when are you going to retire? Well, you don't retire about things you're passionate about. So, I mean, I would never leave what I'm doing. It may change and shift and
Mm,
all that. So, in essence, what what you just mentioned is exactly the heart and soul of what we're trying to do. And so, retail, none of us know what retail will be like, right? I mean, who knows? We may be strapping on an Oculus,
correct.
and
There's probably going to be
we may be,
robots somewhere.
yeah, we may be visiting the bookstore that way, right? but the
Ugh,
actual
that sounds
human
terrible.
connection, but the actual human connection of going to a bookstore is always something that we all need. And so I want to kind of, I want to sort of unmoor the success of all the stuff that we do from retail.
Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily be dependent on just what we do for retail. Plus, it'll allow us to be able to pay our booksellers a living wage, which is
Yeah.
really important. So it kind of supplements all that we're doing. And there are a bunch of bookstores. It's a movement. You know, you see it in newspapers as well. Lots of
Yeah.
newspapers have started this hybrid model where they have, you know, they have this, and that's kind of what we are. We're a hybrid model, you know, for profit as well as having this
I
foundation.
love it. So it feels to me like in the past few years, and I don't know if this is just because I've kind of come into the book world or if you also see this, that like books are very cool right now, right? They're hot. Like you've got Jenna doing her read with Jenna and Reese doing her read with Reese. You know, I've seen so several kind of people I follow on Instagram, bookfluencers, bookstagrammers, opening up bricks and mortar bookstores, tiny ones in different places. Um, do you think that bookstores are hot right now? And do you think that is kind of what you were talking about, this feeling coming out of the pandemic of what we lost, or do you think it's something else?
I think it's a combination of all that. And I also think, and this is going to age me more than you probably, but I also think it's the Harry Potter generation coming of age.
Yeah.
So if I can think, you know, you were a kid, but I remember the remarkable Harry Potter parties we had with thousands of
Oh yeah.
kids who developed reading at that time. And, you know, it was pre-Instagram,
Mm,
pre-computers and the way we have it now. And that love for books, that love for reading exists among people in your
yeah.
generation. And at the same time, because, you know, the way I like to think of it is what we do, what you do, what I do, it's a very narrow sliver of our world,
Mm,
you know, readers, people involved with books and all of that. But we've always fought above our weight class, you know, because books and readers have always been the ones that have driven a lot of popular culture. So even before Reese and other people used books to be film,
mm-hmm.
you know, books have often been the R&D of culture. It's been the way that, you know, it's been a kind of hothouse of culture. So it's always been a kind of narrow tribe that we all belong to in a sense. And what's happening is that because of Instagram, because of social media, our voices are once again are being able to fight above our weight
Yeah.
and hold our own. And so that's why you're seeing, and the algorithms, to be honest, probably point you in the direction of
Yes.
every
I mean, for
single
sure.
book person.
They definitely know
So
what I want. They know what I want very well.
yeah, exactly. So yes, the answer is yes. Books are again capturing the imagination of people. It's why it gives me so much hope. You know, I've been through 40 years of the end of the book all the time. It was
Yeah.
first it was CD-ROMs, then it was the internet, then it was digital books,
Yeah.
and you know, they were going to kill off the physical book. You know, the physical book will always have a very special place in our cultural landscape and won't be dying off anytime soon. As long as we're telling stories and the way we tell stories, people want them. Plus, the other thing that's so cool, I mean, look what Liz Cheney did, right? When she wanted to express, you know, all of her fears and all that,
Mhm.
she wrote a book,
Yeah.
right? So people are still using books to get information from point A to point B.
Yeah, I love it. That's so beautiful. And Mitchell, this has been a lovely conversation. I want to finish by asking you to bestow on everyone listening the advice that you gave me. I know there's a lot of people who are aspiring authors thinking about writing, and I was lucky that I had a direct line to you to say, what the heck do I do? What do you wish aspiring authors knew about the book industry from your years of experience in it?
I think basically there is a mystique around getting a book published, right? Thinking that somebody knows how to do it. You just have to reach that right person.
Mm,
And that's really not the case. Really, what you really need to do as a writer is focus on your book. Create the best book that you can possibly create. That's the very first thing you need to do. Make sure you have your voice honed in perfectly, that you have a lot of really good, smart readers doing what you want to do. And whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it's all about the book, because it's not about any hype. It's not about who you know to get your book published.
mm,
It's all about getting a book that is worthy, or that says something in some way that other people want it. Once you do that, then it becomes a marketing thing. It becomes, as you know,
yeah, we were
how
just
to
talking about
then
this. Gotta
how to
hustle.
get it in front of people, how to get it to agents, how to get that voice that you've honed, how to get that voice out there so other people want to publish you. I can tell you, and I don't think I'm being Pollyannish about it, but I can't think of too many really great books that have not been published.
Mm,
If you write something really important, really something that says something, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry, it will find its publisher. I'm very confident of that.
yeah.
And you should be too. And never feel like, always be brazen. You know, find your inner Alicia. Read her book. That is, you know, what your book says and does is exactly what I'm advocating for. Be fearless, because really, you know, publishers are looking for really good books. So there's no, you know, there's no mystique around it, you know, and it's a very inexact thing. So it's really about taste. It's about finding
Yeah.
someone who believes in you, as you did, Alicia. And um, it's a beautiful thing to see your book in print, and to see, you know, to know that you've touched somebody else's life. And both as a reader and writers out there, um, I think Alisha would agree with me. I think you would agree with me, Alisha, that we are the luckiest people alive, that
Yes.
we get to you know, we get to do this. And you no longer have a my what if year, you have a real year, my yes I did it year.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that for me makes me so proud to know that I've seen you almost from the beginning of your of of your of your emergence as a lover of books and a lover of writing. So, and now you're, with this podcast, you're able to get this out to so many other people.
I love it. And I really, people are gonna think I paid you for this, but no,
Never, you
no.
know,
Mitchell is saying
I
these things out of the
am,
goodness of his enormous heart.
no,
Mitch,
no,
thank
no, I'm
you.
not saying
Thank
it
you
for
so
any
much.
other reason that I actually believe it, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't. And you know, even though you're in, I don't know if you're in Scotland now, but
Mhm.
you know, I know that you're across the Atlantic, but you will always be part of my DNA, Alicia. You know that. And I look forward to what's to come next.
Oh, Mitchell, thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure. Anytime.